what it is we're
Got
supposed to be asking about. Okay, so you're recording. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm going to bring us to YouTube then. I'll be right back. Okay. Hello, Kelly. Welcome. Thanks for being here today. Awesome. So welcome to this non-duality Zoom with Kelly Spencer. Thank you for coming. Please keep your microphones muted until invited to speak. This is being shared live on YouTube, so by asking a question, you're giving consent. We encourage you to raise your hand virtually after the brief introduction by unmuting yourself and turning on your camera. Alternatively, you can write your questions in the chat on YouTube or in the Zoom. And with that, I'd like to ask Kelly to give us an introduction, please.
Yes. I shall try. It's quite funny how I said I shall try, because the introduction is actually not me trying. It's this allowing for whatever comes up, comes out. And so I jokingly say I'll try, because I don't know what's going to come out. I don't know how to speak about this. Like, to me, non-duality isn't language. And yet language happens. And so although the mind may talk about what it thinks non-duality is about, it may have learnt language, it may have learnt concepts, ideas, meanings. none of that is actually non-duality. Non-duality is this unspeakableness. It's this naturalness of what seems to be happening. And that which is not happening. Is actually the same thing. And so it's the most beautifulest subject because it can't be spoken about. It can't be known as a thought, as an idea, as a belief. We can have beliefs and thoughts and ideas about it, but that can never be it. Nothing can be it. And yet, paradoxically, everything is it. And so it's like a stepping out of the mind, out of the intellect. Not a stepping out that you could take, a person could take, an action you can do to step out of the mind. But there's this alreadiness that's not in mind, not in thought, not in that movement of time, of language. And so this is non-duality, this wholeness beyond the idea of separation. Beyond the idea of anything. So the mind can hear this and it can like understand it to an extent. It will grasp it and try to understand it. And try to move with it, use it, live it, become it. And that's kind of natural, really, that the mind attempts to use it. It thinks it's alive, it thinks it's someone, it thinks it can understand, it thinks it's moving through time. So whatever it hears, it grasps as for me. And so this is radically pointing beyond that movement, beyond that happening, that conditioning, that human conditioning. And it's pointing to this naturalness. Which is outside of time. It's right here. Okay, Walter.
All right, thank you. So I think you can just jump in if you would like to ask a question or make a comment. I was just going to ask, because I was listening to your last broadcast, and you were mentioning about moving and having some struggles. And I just wanted to know what you find useful in those times when you're having a hard time. What are there any tools that you use that get you through those times?
That's a great question. So I don't particularly have any tools. I suppose I could think of things like could do, like meditate, sit down. Yeah, I could do some qigong or something, or tai chi yoga. I could I could do those things, but they don't seem to happen. Yeah. So what I would say helps, um, how to put this? So what I would say helps is knowing who I am. So I don't know, it's hard to put it in a linear thing, but years ago, let's say, something changed where there was a knowing of who I am. This change happened, and when that happened, life was still full on and quite extreme, but it was like whatever happened, there was still this freedom. So in extreme, I don't know, let's say pain or tear, upset, or whatever it is, there was this freedom still there. And that was a weird thing, like a weird revealing that no matter what emotional state, mental state, whatever form was happening in the experience, there was this freedom that couldn't be touched by it. So yeah, that radically changed things. So there's still this different emotions happening, different things happening in the experience. So moving home has been so disruptive to my routine, to my stability. But there's something that's not affected by that upheaval. And that's what helps, I suppose.
Like a tuning into that sort of.
Not even that, not even tuning into that. So I was saying I could sit and do yoga and tune into that stillness and tune into that peace and flow from doing qigong or whatever it is that you could do, running or whatever. Or just sitting still and just tuning into that. You could do that as well, but not even necessarily doing that. Like there's just this, it's just this freedom that's there, regardless of what's happening, whether you do sit and do Tai Chi or whatever you're doing, it's still there regardless. And so that's been the difference. Whereas before there was just that mind, just that emotion, just that storytelling going on. And that was all there was in a way. Whereas with that thing happening, the change happening, that can be going on, but there's something that's not touched by that. And that wasn't, let's say, known or revealed before. So the suffering was very intense, very much here. And so it was different.
I think that
And
answers the
so,
question
oh,
in the chat too. No, I
yeah,
was just going to say there's a similar question in the chat about feeling sad and separated and pain body, human conditioning, difficult to accept situations. Uh, Seems like the question is how to apply non-duality in ordinary life or something like that.
yeah, there are things you can do. There are to feel more calmer, more balanced, more healthy. There are things you can do. But that's not really what non-duality. That's not what is being spoken about. At least here, it's more this like this waking up to something else that isn't you, that isn't personal, isn't in that movement. That doesn't exclude that. So you could sit and meditate, you could do practices, you could check in with your body and feel where the disturbances are. I probably should do that more often actually, because it feels good to do that. But independent of doing that or not, there is this radical freedom that isn't touched by it.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to open it up. If anyone wants to pop in with a question, comment, or type one in the chat.
I was going
That's
to say,
okay
actually,
too.
Walter, in fact, the emotions and stuff is actually more intense than when you were just here living in that story of it. It's actually more full on, it's more intense because there isn't that boundary or border trying to keep it in and trying to, it's just like this, it's like you've opened up and so it's more intense. Yeah.
I love the radical freedom that can't be touched. I've never heard that expressed that way.
Yeah.
It seems to bleed over into what we think of as a dream, this radical freedom to be spontaneous. It seems here to make life more fun, more exhilarating, more intimate. Among the travails of normal day activity, it does seem to be untouchable. It's always there. I don't think anything can be done to get there because it's our fundamental, it seems to me to be our fundamental condition. We're born with it, and we seem to lose it once the world is covered with names. But it's almost like a homecoming to me. It feels like a radical freedom that can't be touched. I think that's quite lovely. Thank you. I missed the first part of the meeting. Did you have a radical catharsis, something that you can express that occurred within your realm that brought the awareness of this radical freedom on?
No, I would say no. That there was just this pointing to it, this description and pointing to it that seemed to resonate.
Did it come gradually, or was it a sudden event?
I think the resonance was very immediate. I think when you hear this message, it's very immediate. It's not in time, it's very immediate. But then what you could say was gradual was the revealing of the stories, the breakdown of the identifications, the destruction part.
Did life expose you to conditions that seem to encourage that? Were you a radical seeker? Did you go through a period of anxiety and depression that seems to... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I had depression and anxiety prior as well to non-duality, so it's already familiar with the hellish feelings and the hellish thoughts and that kind of despair already. So yeah, I was kind of like primed for it from my earlier life, I suppose. Yeah, so I was definitely seeking well, just seeking, full stop, really. So yeah. But yeah, looking for happiness in life, in the flow of life, in the appearance of life, trying to find peace in the flow of life. So yeah, just this radical pointing back to what was free, and the pointing out of the ideas of who I think I am, or this story of someone living, independent person living. So a mixture of the two, of the immediacy of this presence, this freedom, and then this seeming time-based story that of unraveling this illusion, unraveling this dream of someone, of individuality.
As a child, were you fundamentally unhappy?
Oh, as a young child, I would say no, but more around, I suppose, maybe teenage years, like most people, that kind of, yeah.
The search is over for you.
The search is over. I
And that was
making big statements is not really, I don't feel comfortable making big statements like that. In one way, yeah, it's surface over, but in another way, who knows? I don't know. Like, there's always this growth of this human. It's always learning, you know, new ideas, new things. But in terms of seeking for anything, like seeking for believing that life will give something everlasting or deeply satisfying is no longer yeah, I don't know. Like happiness is, freedom is, love is, it's not in things, it's not in experiences.
Is that freedom always present in your
Hi,
realm?
girl. Hi, baby girls. Hello, gorgeouses.
Hi. um Sorry, did you repeat the question? I don't know who asked.
The sense of freedom that you mentioned, is that always present? Is it always, does it feel to you like you're living in two worlds? This freedom and the mundane everydayness of,
No,
no.
doesn't feel like two. No.
Mm.
No. It may have it may have done for a while, but it doesn't feel like two. It feels, no, it doesn't feel like two. It doesn't feel like two. And that's the beauty of it. It's not two. It's not two. It's not divided.
It's, could you say it feels like a balance point between the two, like living on the balance point?
Yeah, you could say on the edge of the two, but it also feels, at least pictorial or feeling wise to me, like it's rather than on the edge of two, it's like
Mm.
this is inside the other. So they're really like, they're really together. But I accept the edge of two as well, that's fine, but it feels more like it's both it's intertwined more than on the edge, but yeah.
Thank you.
To me here, it seems like sometimes the thing is I feel separate, but then it's completely separate. And then suddenly there is no separation at all. But not that both go together. I mean, you cannot feel separate and not separated in the same time. But yes, sometimes I know that something is not quite right. And I know that my mind is making up stories and that I do feel separate. But suddenly there is no separation at all. And then, it's just like some people say, unconditional love. Because anything that happens is like you said, radical freedom, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, it's either one or the other here.
Hi, Kelly. When you said it resonates with you, how would you define a resonance?
Sorry, there's the resonance with me.
Yes, you said that this pointing resonated with you.
Yeah.
How would you define resonance? Like,
I
mean, in what way?
I feels like I want to do this. Resonance. It's like because it is. It is like when I heard speakers speaking about it, it was like, oh, it is. You can feel it. It is. This is that. This is that. It just is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Like some would describe this as plasma goo, you know?
It is.
Plasma goo. Some would say it's liquid love. But you said resonance. Exactly. You know? Yeah,
Oh,
that's, yeah.
sorry,
Right.
Razia. Well,
And-
I can hear squeaking in the background, like screechy sounds, and
Yeah,
some-
sorry, it's my
Yes.
bird. It's my bird.
Okay.
My bird does that. Sorry.
it's
Yeah, so Razia, if you could just ask a question, then mute yourself.
Oh, was it
And,
Razia? Okay, I wasn't sure. If it was-
Yeah, so whenever you're not actually speaking, if you just keep yourself muted, it helps with that so people can hear. Thank you.
Can you repeat your question? So I didn't hear that.
Every time I speak, my bird sort of wants to speak. Like, you know, with me, I don't know why it does that. Yeah, and no, yeah, now I said this experience itself, like some people would go through this and say, like, oh, it was like plasma goo or liquid love, you know? And but you said resonance, you know? Like I was reading this one woman who described this whole experience, and she said her hand became a rag, and you know, kind of a thing. And yeah, there's so many different ways of people having this oneness experience, you know. So yeah, so that's why I asked you about resonance.
Okay, I like the
Because
term.
that's what I feel
liquid.
as well. I also feel like my whole body is shaking and everything outside is vibrating, like, you know, it's like,
Ooh.
Yeah. Sorry, Razia. You got to keep yourself muted with that bird. I'm sorry.
Was it a bird? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. But I like the term liquid love. I can relate to that feeling. Liquid love.
There's apple. This is a bowl of chips on it. Mom's coming over.
All right, just mute. You have to unmute yourself, Kelly. Sorry. I just had to mute everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just feel free to unmute yourself, jump in, ask your question, then mute yourself again. That's all you gotta do. I do it myself. I'll just keep myself muted unless I'm talking.
It's more entertaining by playing along on Underdog. Sign up with promo code POSTER to get
Diane. Thank you, Diane. Okay. All right, I have a question here. Somebody want to know, is Kelly a regular non-dualist or a radical non-dualist?
A regular already. A medium, hot, cold. What's that even mean? I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
hi.
think, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I asked a question. I'm interested because the non-dual, it's a tiny subculture, and it seems to be split into these um, two areas where some say it's a process of becoming free, and another what do you call it, school that says that their separation never happens. In other words, the idea of a practice or the idea of a process feels completely absurd in their view.
Yeah.
So my experience has been more sort of a process, I guess. And I don't know if one can, yeah. They seem to, other non-dualists, they sort of seem to refute the idea of a process entirely. So they say, this is it, nothing is happening, and the idea that you're becoming something is completely misplaced.
Well, I kind of fit into the third group then, where
Yeah, okay.
I can relate to both of those and think both of those are valid, and both of those I can hold at the same time. So when you said in your experience it's been a process, that's the way it has to be, because in an experience it will always be a process. It's an experience. It can't be anything other than an experience. It can't be in time a process. So in some way it's a process. It's a gradual, how do you phrase it, a gradual, like,
a process where there seems to be these energetic shifts in the body.
yeah,
And it sort of confuses me when there are a lot of non-dualists who fall into, I don't know if you've heard of Tony Parsons, but they sort of refute the whole thing and say separation never happens.
yeah.
So that confuses me sometimes.
Yeah, of course it would confuse you. But yeah, as I said, I can't favor one over the other. Both of them seem relevant, and both of them seem true in a way. Like, I can't preference one over the other. In one way, there isn't a separate person to go anywhere or become anything. And yet at the same time, it seems to be this dream of someone dissolving, a dream of someone's story of becoming. It's not true, it's a dream, but it seems to appear like that for lots of humans. The story of who you are, the story of you becoming, it never reaches an end because it can't. It's a story. It's not actually a real thing. But that seems to play out. The story of you seeing, glimpsing, getting more peaceful. That seems to play out, and it's still valid. I feel, and very relevant, and very much what seems to unfold. But it's not the truth. It's not the reality. And this is like, as I say, the radical waking up is this seeing beyond that, this collapsing of that belief in that story of you. So maybe the way that I speak is more, I wouldn't say that there isn't a story of someone, because I feel like there is a story of someone. But what I do agree with is that story of someone isn't reality and isn't going to get anywhere. It's not going to become anything. It's a story happening.
But see, when you say it's never gonna, did you say it's never gonna reach a conclusion? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I find that very odd, because there appear to be people who have gone from seekers to so-called finders. I know that's
yeah, but is that true, or is that your perception of it? You're perceiving and imagining that, or is that actually a truth? Can you find someone who at some point wasn't and now it is. Like, how do you know that's true? That's actually a truth.
Well, because they go from attending non-dual talks to giving them.
Yeah, so you project that there's someone there who was in the audience listening to speakers, and now they're on the seat, the hot seat, and now they're speaking non-duality to an audience. But
Right.
that's an imagination and a projection. So it means,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know what to make of it.
yeah. So you imagine that someone is actually in that body speaking and have gone through a journey of something, and then now they're
Yeah,
at the final destination, and they've reached somewhere higher or something, and then you imagine that you are there in that body, and you're
right.
here, they're there, and you're here. So you're imagining this relationship in your head about you and about them, who they are and who you are.
Right.
But neither of those are true.
The individual, the self, the seeker, it seems, and this is what Andreas Muller told me, that the seeker can never become unconvinced of its own reality.
Yeah. It
So
can't.
this is why I can't extend to the idea that none of this is happening. I can't. Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. To me, it all seems to be real and really happening.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, at times it's okay, at other times it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I don't think I left any wiser.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe Kelly, uh, the appearance of, everything is happening, but there is no seeker. There is no finder, as you said, or sage. There can't be. But I mean, to understand that, I suppose, yeah, it's I don't know, conundrum. How do you see that it's just, there's nothing out there except this wholeness? Like, I mean, yours is not two, and yeah. So basically, what I think Joanna is trying to say is, how can we get from this manyness that we seemingly experience to that there is no seeker, there is no sage? There can't be.
Well, yeah, you can't get there in the mind. I mean, maybe you can temporarily get ideas of it in the mind, but this isn't about the mind grasping that or understanding that. So while the mind's trying to understand that and know that and get to that and it's going to feel confusing and all of those things. Like, it's not about the mind. You aren't going to find the answer to any of that as another thought, as another idea.
In effect, there is no mind.
Well, I say mind, meaning thought and thinking.
Yeah. The appearance of a thought.
The identification with thinking and with thoughts.
Yes.
So while that's happening, that's what's happening. Identification with thoughts and the intellect, or call it mind. That's what's happening. And there's an attempt to use the mind's functioning to find the answer, to find freedom, to find relief from this discomfort.
Yes.
And you believe then that non-duality is found in that same area of the intellect, of the mind, of knowing the words, of understanding it intellectually. And so it's an identification and a belief. If I work this out in that thought stream, I will then get it. I've not got it. They have got it. And if I work hard enough by making the mind work, I'm going to get there at some point in time. And this is the dilemma and the seeking of the identified human. This belief,
exactly.
deep belief in
So
thoughts in time.
maybe it's a happening, like you said, that it is a happening. Like suddenly you felt this, you resonated with what was happening, you know. So I don't know. Maybe that's the like a kind of shift that needs to take place for this radical non-duality to be seen, you know. But I don't think that anyone is non-dual. You know what I mean? Is there such a thing as non-duality? Really? I mean, the very fact that you and I are sitting here and talking to each other, there is this appearance of two. You know what I mean? So there's no non-duality as such, or even radical non-duality as such. It doesn't exist. For it to exist, I would have to look out here and see and feel that it's all just one. Am I doing that? I'm still seeing Kelly. I'm still seeing Charlie or Michael, you know? So I don't know. It's confusing.
I actually have Diane has her hand raised as well.
Okay.
So go right ahead, Diane.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't know how to get my picture on.
That's okay. We can hear
That's
you.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure. Okay. When you're talking about the non-duality, and there was a point that I went within and I had asked God, I said, I want like-minded people in my life. And wait a minute. Oh, there I am. Sorry about that. And it did happen. Everything was all at once. I mean, like in the literal sense. I was being love, just seeing love as everyone, everything. And so many things happened. But when I asked for like-minded people, it actually gave me a duality, because I had fear and mixed with all love. And I'm thinking, why is this happening? Why is it this, juggling act? Why is this happening? And I realized because that's what I asked for. And that's what I'm in. Do you know what I mean?
Not really. No, sorry. No, I didn't quite get.
Okay.
that. I got that you asked for like-minded people. Is that correct in your life?
I had wanted
maybe Kelly, maybe
What was-
like Diane, it's like Michael says that
Sorry,
people
can you
have
let Diane
have-
just speak a minute. Let
okay,
us just
all
speak.
right. Sorry.
Okay. See, this is getting more personal for you to understand.
You don't have to. You don't have to reveal all your personal stuff.
It was, like I said, I was just being and just knowing that there is no separation.
Yeah.
We're all love.
Yeah.
Like there is no, we're here, it's like a hospital and a school. And we're meant, like the yin and yang is going through each other, it seems. And, you know, the one side of the yin has the white, the other side of the yin has the dark. But that's telling you it's actually all one.
Yeah.
But we have separated because of fear of maybe, I don't know, non-existence. So when I was feeling just and being all love, I had, like, even just going up to get a drink at Starbucks or whatever, the girl looked at me, she went, do I know? And then stopped. And I'm like, oh, and that happened a lot. And then I'm gonna make a long story very short.
Yeah.
Then my son and I took him to a Med Express. And when we walked in, there was no one in there but one man. We checked in, went to sit down, we sat down, and something told me, look down. I looked down and there was, have you ever heard of Dora the Explorer?
Yeah.
With a bunch of butterflies, one of the big stickers. It wasn't there before I sat down. I'm like, whoa. And then I started getting that feeling in my stomach and I'm like, okay, something's going on. So then, long story short, we go into waiting for the doctor to come in. As soon as he walks in, he sits down, looks at my son and says, your mother is beautiful. Isn't she beautiful? And my stomach's going and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And he says, don't I know you? And I said, no. He said, are you sure? I said, no. And I was so scared and the unworthiness was just overwhelming. But anyway, we go, but it's done. Okay. And we go to walk out and the girl has her back towards me, you know, in the bullpen where the doctors that, you know, and she's going, wake up, wake up. I'm like, oh, and I just felt like I wanted to faint. So then, but anyway.
Sorry, I can't
short.
follow. This is too long for me to follow this story. Sorry.
Okay.
What's the main
So
point you're trying to?
the main thing is we're here to learn. We're here as it's a hospital and a school. So we need to experience duality to understand that we are whole and as one. To just say there is no duality, but yet still experience duality, it's like kind of lying to yourself. Like, okay, but you're still experiencing it. It is a wholeness as a complete, and it's not like love. Love can't be taught. Love must be experienced. And it's not the love that we think we're sharing here. It's not. That's not the truth. Just like fear. The fear we share here is not the truth. It is, you must be that which is. And it is for each individual person, because each person is unique, very much unique. But in that uniqueness is the whole that I am, the you are, but you aren't because you are the I am. It is so deep, but so childlike and so pure that the proof is here. The proof is here.
Yeah.
And there's times that you're in and out of it. You're in it, you're out of it. You're in it, you're out of it. Because to hold that frequency and to be that frequency is just unbelievable, absolutely beyond words. So I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is everyone is on and in their own path as everything that ever was or is or could be, because it's in progress, progressing. But and there can never be an end, because there's no such thing as an end. There's only a stop in the belief in false projecting and false observing. I guess I'll end there. I know I'm like, I can just keep going on and on and on.
God, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
But and it always got me, like, if like you're in some groups and they're telling somebody, well, you're wrong. Well, no, it's not like this. And it's like, no, it is for that person. So we have to appreciate that, because in order to have non-duality, there needs to be acceptance and the freedom to love and appreciate all things, even things that we think is dark,
Well, yeah,
regardless.
I appreciate you sharing your perspective.
Thought.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Go right ahead. Don't be shy.
Sorry, Kelly, what I was going to say was, what Michael talks about is that people have glimpses of this.
I don't agree with
of
that.
the
I don't agree
aliveness.
with it. I don't
Yeah,
agree with it.
yeah, and it is that I think that all of us have had glimpses of this non-duality, that we are all this, all that is, and
I don't agree with that.
She's
I don't
saying,
know
but
if,
she's saying she
anyone
doesn't
looks
agree with
like
it, Razia.
Sorry?
But
You
you
don't
can't say
agree?
we've all had these glimpses if she's saying she doesn't agree with it.
No, you can say
Okay,
it, but I'm saying,
what
I'm
would
just
you?
saying
Well,
that
I'm just
Would I
saying you
have to
can't speak for
qualify it?
everyone. You can't speak for everyone and say we've all had.
Okay, I will qualify it, and okay, let me ask it in a question then, Kelly. Do you think? Okay, you are saying everyone, right? Obviously, now we're distinguishing that certain people have it. Is that it?
no, I don't
Have
agree.
these glimpses?
I don't agree with that. People have glimpses. Maybe it's just the way that I say it. I don't agree with it said like that, because that doesn't feel true. Like you've had a glimpse. It doesn't feel true here. I would say it more like, not to sound facetious, is it, like, but glimpses happen, but they aren't you having them. These glimpses or these collapsing of this sense of identification, that drops, but no one's had a glimpse. They're just this dropping of there being someone there. But then the mind tries to claim, I've had a glimpse. I remember I had a glimpse in 1973. You didn't have a glimpse. There was no you. There was no one there grabbing or perceiving.
Yes, but I mean, when I listen
Just
to
having a glimpse
Diane,
often held on to, like this thing that I've had, and it isn't true. It's a story of someone who's had a glimpse that's not true. It really isn't true, and it keeps that sense of you on this journey to getting more and more glimpses. It's not true. It's not true.
yes, that's true, exactly. But yet you did, when you started to say it's a continuous process. You did say that.
No, I didn't say, no, I didn't mean it like that. No.
Yes. No, but what I was referring to was, like Diane said, she had this collapse, right, of the subject and object, and it's all like this, whatever. But she says you cannot stay in that state.
You can't, no,
So-
you can't stay in it. The person can't stay in it. The mind can't stay in it. No.
Yes. So, yeah. No, that's about it. Thanks.
Because this is beyond the mind, so the mind can't stay anywhere. It's nothing to do with the mind.
Yes. That's true. There is no mind. Thanks.
What do you see as the origin of what we think of as awareness or consciousness?
I can only say nothing, as in not a thing.
Do you see that?
Not a thing is all things. Not a thing is appearing as things. Must be not a thing.
Do you see what we think of as the brain, noting that, or considering that that also is a label? But do you see the origin of what we think of as consciousness or awareness as the physical brain?
I see not a thing.
Granted, there are no things, or that things exist only in the naming of them. But in our common jargon, in our shared linguistic consensus, do you see what is thought of as the brain as the origin of what is thought of as awareness? Or it just, this all appears out of nothing?
It doesn't appear out of nothing. It is nothing. It is not a thing. So all of this is not a thing. Whether you know the brain, whatever you call consciousness, it's all not a thing.
Sentient beings the awareness that sentient beings have of life, the non-linguistic perspective of sentient beings, could you consider that as their functioning originating in what is thought of as their brain? That, say, if a person has a stroke, they lose certain functions because the brain is affected. Memory can be lost, sight can be lost from a destruction of certain parts of the brain.
Yeah. But yeah, but it's all happening as not a thing. So you can't, whatever thing you can identify or label and say is the source, it must be coming out of not a thing. It can't be a thing. That can't be the origin of it. A thing can't be the origin of everything. Nothing is. No thing is what everything is appearing as things.
Isn't that just another story of the existence of nothing?
If you imagine it as a thing, then yes, it's a story. So you can imagine nothing as a thing and believe that nothing is the source of everything. You can believe that as a thought and that as a story, totally, as a belief. But what's being pointed to is not a thing, and it's right here as everything. But it can't be captured as a thing. It appears as everything, but you can't get hold of it. It's nothing, not a thing.
I see that as another entanglement of language.
Well, language is, but directly, like right here, let's say right now, there is not a thing appearing as language, appearing as intellect, appearing as hands, appearing as screen, appearing as an idea of brain. So it's all going to be the same thing. It's all not a thing.
Can the linguistic perspective see anything outside of itself other than stories about its imaginary condition?
Are you saying?
I'm postulating that your conclusions, or that any conclusion about our condition, is linguistically oriented, and that to say that there's nothing outside of that is just another extrapolation of language. That any conclusion or any statement about our imaginary condition could not be what we think of as true.
Of course.
That's another.
Of course. Every word, every name, every idea, every thought of brain, everything can only be a thing appearing. It's not truth. It can't be.
Okay, but even that is a configuration of words or thoughts.
And it's not true.
Okay, but that also could not be true.
Of course, and it's not true.
So the idea that you're left with not even nothing is just another stacking of shadows. You're left.
It's not true. It's just not true.
Well, what is true? True is a linguistic.
Well, how else can I express anything other than using words?
Okay, I'm saying that every expression
is not true. Yeah.
But even that
expression is not true. Yeah.
It seems to me that we're trapped, or that
not at all.
Whatever this is confined to and defined by language.
This is totally free. It's not trapped at all. Only language is trapped. Only ideas is trapped. This is freedom.
Well, freedom is an idea. Freedom is just another
expression. Another word, but it's just trying to point to something that's free. You can't get out of using language and words. That's part of how we communicate as humans.
Exactly.
You try to say, like, everything I say is words, sounds coming out, but it's pointing to something beyond itself.
I'm suggesting there's nothing beyond itself. But this is the
yeah, but you're doing that by using words. You have to. Like, it's not.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course. That I'm suggesting that your confusion, that your statement, that your conclusions about our nature could not be relevant, because relevance only exists within a linguistic perspective.
It just doesn't, to me, it just seems like it's very much about language sort of like it's just not of interest. Like, it's just language. I don't really, what's being pointed to is beyond it, and I know beyond knowing that I can never be accurate in language, but there's an attempt to speak about this with human language, with human understandings of words, but there's a knowing this can't be communicated that way. This is resonance beyond what's being spoken about. So we can argue about how I'm saying it and language and words, but it's kind of irrelevant and it's not really important.
Oh, I see Christians as having the same certainty. Young Mormons who come to the door are so certain of their perspective.
Yeah, it sounds like a perspective that I'm certain about and I believe in. It does sound like that, but I can't. That isn't what I'm pointing to, but I can't get out of that. It's part of being human. I can't get out of that. That's just the way I'm going to have to speak in human language of. So it sounds personal. It sounds like a perspective or an opinion, and it isn't. But that's where it's going to sound. And I can't, get out of that. That's the way it's going to sound to the mind. There's someone there with an opinion or a belief, or what you're saying is an opinion or a belief or perspective, or I don't really want to argue with it too much. You can think that, and maybe you're right, but here, this isn't about belief. I may speak as a belief, but it's not about that speaking in a way. It's so bizarre. You can't get beyond the language, but you can, because this isn't about language.
So I have two hands raised with Diane and Geo. So go ahead, Diane first and then Geo. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Can you
Hi.
see me?
Yeah.
Am I okay? Can I ask now?
Yeah.
Or make a maybe a statement. Like when you said no thing, nothing. Yes, I agree. And nothing wants to experience and be in I don't want to use the word becoming, but in a sense. And because in the deep, there is so much, and each one of us carries that spark, but we are within that spark and of that spark and is that spark, though not knowing of it and not realizing it to bring it to realization. But we have been brought forward in realization. It's kind of like when my daughter was little and she said something happened to her. I'm like, what's wrong, honey? And she said, Mom, I was looking at myself. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she did an old-fashioned camera, the reel. And how would she even know about that old-time camera? And I said, oh, okay. I said, so what did you feel closest to? She said, what was watching? So, there is more to it than no thing. Yeah, okay. Who put that up? Yes. And you take the mask off. Yes. Hello?
Hi.
Did you put that up there with the dark sky with the mask off?
I can't see anything. No.
Oh, that's pretty wild. Okay, see, everything happens for a reason. But it's like taking the mask off, but we get so, like me, I'm not going to say we, I have to talk for me. I get so caught up in everything going on that what word do I want to use? I think it's your ego gets in and goes, oh, I did this or I did that. And it's like, no, you didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't do it. I cannot, because then I'm not freeing myself like this. I'm still clinging on to an imaginary thing and not letting go and allowing to be part of the whole.
Sorry, Diane. Do you have a question or a?
Like that is kind of like a question as to, like, what do you think about that? Like, it's the ego. I hate using these. I don't
have any opinion on any of that, really. I don't have any opinion on it. It interests me. It has no yeah, I don't feel like I resonate with it right now, at least. I don't feel resonation with it. What I'm talking about, I suppose, is like this freedom that's here, right here. And all of that didn't seem relevant to, not to be rude, but it wasn't relevant to what I'm pointing to. So, yeah.
Okay, so what are you pointing to?
Well, Yeah.
Just,
not really
yeah.
not really pointing to it. I kind of am, but also not. It's more like an expression of something.
But to express something is to project. So what are you expressing to project? Is it what is that? Is it like I'm trying to understand where you're
Yeah.
coming from.
Trying to understand, but
So
it's not intellectual to understand. It's not intellectual at all. It's this radical freedom that's just here, this radical empty fullness, this beingness. It doesn't want anything, doesn't need anything, has no quality. It's just this emptiness, this fullness.
I agree with that. Yes. I agree with that.
And that's primarily it. There's nothing more to it other than this empty fullness.
But that's the thing, like, to empty who I think I am. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's this empty fullness that already is.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, like, you go by your name and you have this life. You have to go, you go to sleep, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face.
Yeah,
like,
again, this is all like you're imagining all of this.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
What I'm talking
Like,
about isn't an imagination. What's being pointed to isn't an imagination.
But but let's just go back to that one part. How do you stop doing that?
Stop what?
Like that, I don't know how to. How do you stop believing in the separation when there really isn't any separation? Like that little ego mind comes in, and do you know what I mean?
And you're asking, how can that ego mind stop being an ego mind? It can't. It can't.
Okay. Why?
The ego mind wants some steps to take to not be an ego mind, but it can't. It can't.
Is there a reason? Because it's driving me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I agree with what you're saying. And what I was saying before, I felt like I was kind of saying what you were saying, but I was also saying the path.
I don't know, Diane. It's just too much. It's just too much. Like, it's such simplicity.
And it is
it's just too much. Like, you're adding.
So why make it so hard? Why?
The mind loves to make things more difficult and more complex. It loves to have complexity in a longer story, in a longer journey, and difficulties to hurdle over, and things to. It loves that. All our films are about that's this story of this journey of this overcoming and this battling, and it loves that, and it's entertaining to have that.
Not really.
No, it is.
Not enjoying it.
It is. It is. There's some enjoyment in it, in the struggle, in the pain, in the drama. It loves it. We love it. We love it.
Okay, but like, what if you want all of that to stop?
Well, well, the good news is it has stopped. It didn't even begin. That's the good news. That whole storyland is a storyland.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Gio had his hand up. Gio.
My microphone is not working very well. So, Kelly, can I make a comment to something that Michael was saying. Is it okay for you?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. Michael, when you, let's say that you are sleeping without dreaming, right? You are sleeping and suddenly you wake up. So where is, because you were saying that there is nothing outside of words and the limitation of a brain, but you were sleeping without dreaming and suddenly you wake up. Where was the brain and where were the words? If you are sleeping without dreaming and suddenly the whole world appears.
I think, and I don't mean to intrude on Kelly's world, but I think that that we mistake words for actual things when we say even sleep. We all have a definition, our own private dictionary for sleep and waking up. And so we are confined to our own linguistic bubble, our own closed loop. So communication is very, almost, I suppose, impossible. When I try to talk about my world or the experience here, I'm talking to a whole different world, a galaxy of different memories and associations. I don't know if there's any way through that. I tend to think that we are isolated and alone in our private bubble. And when we talk about the things, the thing, extant in our own world, they are so unique that we do not communicate with each other. Only on the most basic level. There's body language and expression through eyes, and all of those highly evolved communications. But language is so deficient, so hollow. There's no such thing as mountains or oceans. There's no such thing as mind. There's no such thing as freedom, except how we define them individually. I think that for me to talk about my nighttime dreams and experiences is a totally different library of experiences trying to express using its own words to align with your words. And of course, that can't happen. When I wake up, my nighttime dreams are struggle. My daytime dream is peaceful. I grew up in a violent society, and I fight and kick, and I get in fights at night, and I love that. It's part of who I am. My daytime dream is incredibly peaceful. It's what Kelly said, the freedom that couldn't be touched, that resonated very deeply. But again, it's not the experience that she's talking about. It's my experience. It's unique to me. It's unique to my world. I've always related to you, Gio, the words you say, the gentleness, but that's, again, my world. I cannot really talk to you about my world. It's easy to say I love you, but the feeling I have for you is this, I don't know, warmth and gentleness. And I'm taking too much time out of Kelly's video. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Michael will have his own episode on this channel. So if you want to ask more questions of Michael, he's agreed to do one. So look forward to that.
Michael.
We got Razia has her hand raised. Go for it, Razia.
How do you raise the hand?
No, like, I mean, this is generally to all of you. Like, I mean, if you really think about it, right? We know that there is this wordless world, right? And there is a worded world. But when we look at names, like if I say Giovanni, Giovanni has an essence to it. You know what I mean? Giovanni is not a solidity to me, as far as I'm concerned, because he carries his own essence. So even words now are like wordless. They carry that essence that is, you know? I mean, every name is like that. I know, like when I say Kelly, I feel this, it's, I don't know if that makes sense.
Charlie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to thank Kelly for one thing, and to acknowledge that as impossible as it sounds, I completely understand what she's saying. And everyone else, um, my question is that because this is how it's appearing here, is there's so many variances of people speaking, and I actually see them all in the same spot. It's the same spot I'm in, and I can't talk about it any better than anyone else. And except that it can make sense to me because I've been dumbfounded by it for so long. And so I seem to have been able to communicate this um, in a way that makes sense through the brain that's seeing everything. And nothing really changes that much. My son still sees his dad. I still see a son. I see this whole thing that's happening here. It's all coming from the same nothing.
But
And
aren't you?
I am that nothing.
But the idea you're seeing your son, for example, like isn't that a added layer to it? So you're saying I'm seeing my
Yes, it
son,
is.
that's added on extra.
Absolutely another layer. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And
Isn't true then.
that's impossible not to have as an appearance,
But
but it doesn't shake anything.
but it isn't true.
No, it's not true. It's as true as every other appearance. So it's like a different you said layer, I would say a different reality. I'm not, I don't discount. I see everyone in the same exact boat. There's an appearance that you can believe in, or you can recognize it as not. And then, so what is recognizing that can't be found, and it is this, and it's completely shared. I cannot see or say that you're in a different place than this is. I can't even say there is a you, other than I couldn't possibly deny the appearance as you perceive it, because you perceive it from a framework, and I think it's been touched on. I mean, if you shut your eyes, everybody else kept their eyes open. There would be you could, and we all described our experience. Yours would be of darkness. And then you open your eyes, and everybody else shuts their eyes. Well, you're just gonna be full of color and movement. And so there's this appearance of perspective, but it's not for anyone because I can't find anyone. That's the way I could say it. Or I could say it's just full of even if I had these eyes shut, it would still be full of darkness. And so there's this fullness, but yeah, we can't really talk about it, meet it there, unless you're there. And then if you're truly there openly, then we can all talk about it and see it. That's the same thing. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, Miss Kelly. You're awesome.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Anybody else who hasn't had a chance to say anything, ask a question? William, go ahead. No?
Hello.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, hello. Hi, my name's Saras. Hi, everyone. I was invited by Wendy, and it's been lovely listening to you all. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but when you're about to close, I want to say something. This nothing in the hole. I really feel the comradeship of what you're sharing, because I've been on a seeking path for 40 years, and I did come into it through Jnana Yoga, which, it's not this, it's not that, it's, blah, blah. And I've gone all around the houses over the 40 years. And it's recently that I've been, whoever this I is, has been pulled into the quote unquote non-duality circle. And it's just fascinating to the mind, of course. And because of all the quote unquote practice that it's done over the years, it accepts it somewhat easier. And yet there's an observation of how incredible it is, how quick you see. It's even hard for me to say the word you, because of this whole who is you, who is me, who is blah, 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 blah. But when something happens, all of a sudden the mind has grabbed the identity, and the experience becomes something of old, which also doesn't exist. That all of a sudden the whole world is a complete dual insanity, and how that can happen after so many some experiences, some little experiences along the way, as that lady was saying, that we have all had, and that I would suspect we've all had too, moments of there's nothing but that, that non-duality oneness, and we can give it some labels that we like, right? Love, peace, or nothing. Either way. But it's incredible to have those experiences, and then all of a sudden find you're pulling out of like a movie of, oh my goodness, what the heck happened? Right, all of a sudden you're on a roller coaster, all the awareness, so to speak, seems to have disappeared. And next thing you're coming back and go, oh my goodness, how on earth did that happen? And that's one of the things I find, I'm sorry, making myself laugh, mind-boggling, because you go along with all this awareness and you see it, blah, blah, and we feel it almost like in our DNA, without a better way of communicating that there is, and I use this word loosely too, truth in this, and then to click your fingers and then it's all chaos again. That to me is something that I'm currently, whoever this I is battling with on a daily basis. Now there are lots of things going on in my life that a lot of people will go, oh my God, are you serious? And those things that are coming, I can ride them sometimes, but then next thing you know, all of a sudden it becomes the entire reality. And I'm always left with this just mind-boggling experience of, isn't that, what an amazing, clever game this is, where you can go from nothing but peace, like the lovely gentleman leaning on his couch, sorry, I've forgotten your name already, to all of a sudden have the experience of chaos. How on earth can that happen? I guess that's what I was going to say. Who knew? Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you very much. So Kelly, is there anything you can tell us about upcoming stuff on your channel? Or I know you're doing once a month now, videos, question answer.
Not anymore.
So I was I feel to talk about this whole peace and chaos.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was hoping to hear something from you. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a question. I thought it was more of just a statement, so that's why. I
Perhaps
didn't-
that's female communication.
Yeah,
She heard
sorry.
it.
Go ahead.
Well, I
Thank you.
didn't really hear I didn't know if I heard the question or not, but I just felt something about this idea of this being a certain way, so looking peaceful, or this looking still, or whatever you want to imagine. Like a lot of people have that idea of the awakening to be this peaceful, still, no chaos, no emotion, no change. And it just feels like that would be like half of the picture. It would be missing something. If this could be only one way, then it's missing the whole, it's missing everything. That we're often trying to box things off and just have peace, or just have this, or just have that, and life isn't just one thing, it's everything. And so this is like a loss of control, a loss of this trying to control and manage what is happening. And actually what you might say, this peace isn't this idea of peace, of stillness, of being a monk. It's this peace beyond, let's say beyond whatever's happening. So if it's chaos, it's chaos. If it's still and peaceful, it's still and peaceful. But that experience of peace, that experience of chaos, is simply that, an experience, and it's moving and changing. And so the only peace isn't an experience of peace, sorry. It's a peace beyond peace. It's a freedom beyond whatever's appearing. This isn't just peaceful. This is everything. This is everything.
And so what I'm hearing and what's coming up for me while I hear you is perhaps, oh, see, here again, I'm going for a solution, right? So more meditation, because perhaps I everything you just said, I completely align with. I suppose if there was an actual question, it would be, what would you recommend to, what was your practice to, if you have one,
yeah. How
to
could you
keep observing those changeable states, to keep observing that rather than being pulled into it. Does that make sense?
But why would you need to observe them?
Okay, I'm hearing you.
No, I'm asking you, why would you need to observe what you're trying to achieve? Or
Oh, I suppose I don't know whether it's semantics or whatever. So the way that I look at it is, if I'm in the place of observation. Hi, Charlie. If I'm in the place of observation, then there aren't any mind reactions to it or feeling reactions to it.
If you're in the observation place, then you can be free of, like, free of it. Like, you can detach yourself from it.
That's what I mean by, if I'm observing, I feel like I'm just, so it doesn't matter whether it's beautiful in front of me or chaotic in front of me or violent or whatever it is. There's a sense of stillness, nothingness, because there's observation happening rather than being involved with it.
I think there are teachings that are teaching that for you to be witnessing it, so you aren't dragged into it. You're just the witness of what's happening, the chaos, the emotions, the experience. So there are teachings about that, about you being that, but that's not what I'm pointing to.
Can you,
like what's being pointed to is,
yes,
it's so much more juicier than that. It's not just sitting witnessing everything detached. It's much more juicier. It's like it is everything. It is the chaos, it is the emotion, it is the peace, it's everything.
Thank you.
And you aren't like secure and safe behind a witnessing wall. There's actually everything happening. Everything happening. What room is there for you to witness? There's everything already happening. What position are you going to be in? There's everything happening. There's no room for you. Like it's
Oh, that's brilliant.
it's so full on. It's so the opposite of what you might have learned as you're like practicing to becoming this
Yes.
skilled Buddha.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
totally not that.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, Kelly, I'm coming back here. I hope. I can't believe it. This is 40 years of how many gurus and all kind blah 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 blah. And what you just imparted to me, it was a tangible experience. It was like, of course, the wheels are going in that direction, and you've just opened that up to, you don't need to go in any direction because it all is. Don't, it's all. There is nowhere to go or observe from. Yeah, I get what you say. It's lovely. And your laughter, thank you so much. I don't know how many people are here. I can't see if there's a place which shows all the people that are here. And I've only seen like 5 individuals, so I don't know how many people are here, but I'll take the opportunity to say thank you for letting me be a part of this circle, and hope to be back. Appreciate it. Lots of love to everyone. Thank you, Kelly. Wow.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. I don't even know, Walter. Thank you, Walter.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
And you.
We had a lot of questions coming in, but we're out of time. I have an appointment to go to, so I have to end the meeting. So I just want to say next week we have Alexis Knight at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you can come back and join me then. And if I can get Kelly to come back next month, we'll do that. If she's free. So sorry, is there anything you'd like to say in terms of pointing people towards your website or YouTube channel or anything like that, Kelly?
Yeah, not really. Just put the link under the video or something.
Okay, we'll put the link under the video so you can find it. Also, I just recommend her YouTube channel. She's got a lot of great videos there. This one will be there. She's recording it. So if you want to see it again, you can find it here or there. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thank you, Kelly.
Bye.
Thank